The transport ship lurched through the debris field, its hull groaning under the stress of emergency maneuvers. Lieutenant Marcus Webb pressed himself against the medical bay wall as another explosion rocked the vessel. Around him, the wounded lay in various states of distress, their alien physiologies presenting challenges he had trained years to understand. The Valthene soldier on the operating table before him was dying. Her lower limbs had been severed cleanly by plasma, fire during the retreat from Station Gamma 7. The stumps were cauterized, but the damage went deeper. Her triple-chambered heart was failing, shock cascading through her blue-tinged flesh. "Doctor, we need to evacuate." The captain's voice crackled through the intercom. "Jump engines are charging." 5 minutes. Marcus didn't look up from his work. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, applying coagulants designed for Valthene biology. "This soldier comes with us, or I stay here." The captain knew better than to argue with the human medic. Every species in the coalition had learned that human stubbornness was not merely a stereotype, but a fundamental trait that defied logic and self-preservation. The soldier's name was Kira. Her compound eyes flickered with fading consciousness as Marcus worked. In her language, she whispered something that the translator rendered as worthless now. Her culture held no place for warriors who could not stand and fight. A limbless Valthene was ceremonially released to the void, a mercy killing disguised as honor. Marcus had seen this before. Too many times. The galaxy was filled with species who viewed catastrophic injury as a final sentence. Prosthetics existed, but were primitive, clumsy things that marked their wearers as broken. The Coalition's medical doctrine focused on those who could return to duty quickly. The rest were classified as losses, their sacrifices honored, but their futures erased. "You're not worthless," Marcus said, though he knew she probably couldn't understand the tone through her fading awareness. "And you're not done." The jump to hyperspace bought them time. The fleet had scattered after the ambush, and their vessel limped toward the nearest safe harbor, a mining colony on the edge of Terran space. Marcus spent the 3-day journey in the medical bay, sleeping in chairs, eating ration bars with one hand, while reviewing anatomical databases with the other. Kira stabilized, but remained unconscious. Her body was healing the wounds it could, but her neural endings where the limbs had been severed continued to fire phantom signals. Marcus watched the biomonitors and thought about the prosthetic labs back on Earth, the advances humans had made in cybernetic integration, the philosophical debates about enhancement versus replacement. Humans had always been fragile creatures who compensated with tools. They had no natural armor, no venom, no enhanced senses. What they possessed was an absolute refusal to accept limitations as permanent. When nature failed to provide, humans built. When bodies broke, humans rebuilt them. The mining colony's facilities were basic, but Marcus had brought supplies. He had been preparing for this moment since the war began, since he had watched his first alien patient choose death over disability. The Coalition thought him eccentric for requisitioning experimental equipment. They assumed it was human sentimentality, an unwillingness to accept battlefield realities. They were wrong. It was human spite. Kira woke on the 4th day to find herself in a fabrication lab surrounded by machinery. Marcus stood at a workbench, manipulating holographic displays that showed the internal structure of Valthene limbs. Beside him, a 3D printer hummed as it constructed something from metallic polymers and synthetic muscle fiber. "You should have left me," Kira said, her voice weak but clear. "Probably," Marcus replied without turning. "But I didn't feel like it. My people will not accept me. I cannot fight. I am finished." Marcus finally looked at her. His face was haggard from lack of sleep, but his eyes were sharp. "Your people might surprise you. But either way, what they think doesn't determine what you are." Over the following weeks, Marcus worked. He had assistance from the colony's engineers, humans who understood his vision immediately and attacked the project with enthusiasm. They studied Valphine physiology, mapped neural pathways, calculated load-bearing requirements. The prosthetics they designed were not mere replacements. They were improvements. The limbs emerged from the fabricators in segments. Titanium alloy bones wrapped in synthetic muscle that contracted with electrical impulses. Hydraulic joints that could absorb impacts that would shatter organic tissue. Sensory arrays that fed directly into Valphine neural architecture, providing tactile feedback that was sharper than natural sensation. The feet were designed with magnetic grips for zero-gravity combat and retractable climbing spikes for varied terrain. Kira watched the construction with growing unease. These are weapons. Everything's a weapon if you're creative enough, Marcus said. These are legs. What you do with them is your choice. The integration surgery took 14 hours. Marcus worked with 2 other human surgeons, specialists in cybernetic interfacing who had volunteered for combat medical service. They connected artificial nerves to organic ones, calibrated feedback systems, ensured that Kira's brain would accept the new limbs as extensions of her body rather than foreign objects. When Kira stood for the first time on her new legs, she nearly fell. The sensory input was overwhelming, too much information flooding her nervous system. Marcus caught her, his merely human strength insufficient, but his determination compensating. Easy. Your brain needs time to adjust. The neural plasticity will kick in. You'll be walking normally within a week. It took 3 days. By the end of the first week, Kira was running. By the end of the second, she was training in the colony's small gymnasium, testing the capabilities of her new body. The legs responded faster than her original limbs had, the synthetic muscles never tiring, the joints allowing movements that organic tissue would have prevented. Other wounded arrived. Word had spread through the fleet's survivor networks that a human medic at the mining colony was doing impossible things. A Thorian pilot whose wings had been burned away. A Krelith soldier missing 3 of his 4 arms. A Ven communications officer whose vocal organs had been destroyed. Marcus treated them all. The fabricators ran continuously, producing custom prosthetics designed for each species' unique biology. The human engineers expanded their workshops, collaborating with alien specialists who began to see possibilities they had never considered. What started as battlefield triage evolved into something larger. The prosthetics were not standard. Each set was designed for the individual, incorporating their skills, their needs, their desires. The Thorian received wing analogs made from smart metal that could shift shape, providing better aerodynamics than flesh ever could. The Krelith got arms with modular attachments, tools, and weapons that could be swapped based on mission requirements. The Ven received a voice synthesizer that could produce frequencies impossible for organic vocal cords, turning a disability into a tactical advantage. Coalition Command took notice when the modified soldiers began requesting reassignment to combat units. Medical review boards examined them, ran tests, argued about regulations that had never anticipated this situation. The prosthetics exceeded organic performance in measurable ways. These soldiers were not restored to their previous capabilities. They were enhanced. Some officials objected on philosophical grounds. This was transhuman modification applied to alien species, a violation of natural order. Others worried about setting precedents, about creating pressure for elective enhancement. The debates raged through committee meetings and subcommittee reviews. Then the syndicate attacked the colony. The enemy force was substantial, expecting to find a poorly defended mining operation. What they encountered instead was a fortified position held by soldiers who had nothing left to lose and everything to prove. Kira led the defense, her enhanced legs allowing her to move across the colony's exterior hull without magnetic boots, her talons finding purchase on sheer metal. She fought with a ferocity that terrified the attackers. A warrior who had transcended the limitations that would have ended her. The battle lasted 6 hours. The modified soldiers performed beyond all projections. Their prosthetics allowed tactics that had never been considered viable. They moved through environments that would have killed organic soldiers, endured damage that would have been fatal, and continued fighting when any other force would have broken. When coalition reinforcements arrived, they found the colony intact and the enemy in full retreat. Marcus stood in the medical bay, treating minor injuries and performing field repairs on damaged prosthetics. A rear admiral came to find him, demanding explanations and compliance reports. Marcus was too tired to be diplomatic. These soldiers were written off as casualties. You were ready to dispose of them. Now they're the most effective combat unit in the sector. So you can file whatever reports you want, but I'm going to keep building, and they're going to keep fighting. The admiral stared at the human medic. This representative of a species barely a century into galactic civilization and recognized something fundamental. Humans did not accept defeat. Not in battle, not in policy, and certainly not in the limits of biology. When the galaxy said something was impossible, humans heard it as a challenge.